You're listening to BYU-Idaho Radio. I'm Nathan Lenahan, and today I'm joined on the phone by Rachael Sparhawk. She's the founder of the rooted Meadows School. Rachael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, you're welcome. Thanks for having us.
So, before we get into what the rooted Meadows School is and what it's all about, could we just get some background information on yourself?
Yeah, my name's Rachel. I'm originally from Wyoming, and my husband and we've traveled around the country and the world, living in different places, and we have 5 kids, which has led us in the quest for a great education for our children. And then he is from Idaho, so we are back living in Idaho, close to family.
That's great. And how did you get into education?
Well, my husband's company asked him to fulfill a role in South America. And so we were moving down there, and for several different reasons, we couldn't put our kids in the public school system down there or the private school. And so that meant I needed to homeschool. And so I had to take on that role, and I'm quite a researcher. So I started researching a ton about education and philosophies and methods. And I discovered Waldorf accidentally. My kids ended up in a school that turned out to be a Waldorf school. And so between that experience and what I'd researched, I just really loved it. And then when we moved back to the United States, we put our children in a private Waldorf school in Washington and had an amazing experience. But then we really wanted to move closer back to family. And there was no Waldorf school in that area. And so I was like, okay, we'll make one, we'll create one. So that's how I've gotten into it. Just a lot of researching, a lot of mentors and connecting with people that have guided and helped us in this endeavor of creating a school.
Right. And so for anyone who doesn't know, what is a Waldorf education system?
Waldorf education is a kind of style and collection of methods to teach children that are based on principles that were created by Rudolf Steiner in the early 1900s. Its core concepts that these principles come from are the concept that humans are born already being their own person with personality, preferences, strengths, and weaknesses. And so that life is more of a journey of human discovering and awakening like the different facets of themselves, along with discovering the world around them. And the education is about helping those humans, these children, connect those discoveries together and make meaning out of them. Whether those discoveries are in math, chemistry, physics, natural science, human relationships, from like what a little kid can understand clear up to high school, college. And so that kind of core concept really changes the approach that a teacher in a school will take to teaching children. And so the Waldorf approach education is very holistic, very phenomenal, hands-on, and artistic. So that's a lot of like kind of the key kind of traits that people usually tend to tag on to Waldorf education. Another core concept that is really big in Waldorf education, it's sort of like people now use it all the time as a tagline of hands, heart, and mind, but it came from Waldorf education, believing that there are 3 parts to every human being. There's our body, which is our doing side of us, the mind, which is our thinking part, and our soul, which is the feeling part where connections are made. And because of this belief, the Waldorf curriculum is developed to engage each of those parts of the child in the learning process. Whether it's math or science or art or handwriting, like they're going to engage the body, the mind, and the soul. And this way, the topic that they're learning truly becomes ingrained and part of the child and their experience. And there's sort of like more of like a love and appreciation for what they're learning. And this also is the reason the curriculum, it becomes very intentional and very meaningful. It is based on what is age appropriate according to what the child is needing to learn and how they learn best at that age, rather than just like, oh, this is what we're wanting you to learn, and they, you know,
Right.
we want you to test in this, we want you to do this. It very much is just like, what is the child needing right now to develop and to learn best at their age? So those are two really kind of unique core principles of Waldorf education that influences everything they do in their school.
Right. So it sounds like you said a lot more hands-on and personalized as well. I guess when I think back to my time in public school, which I had, I had a good time, but it was mostly just sitting at a desk. And anytime there was something that was hands-on or more involved, those are the kinds of things that I got excited for as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was just talking to my kids about this, I asked them, I said, hey, because they've been in public school, they've been in a private Waldorf school, and I asked them, I was like, what were some of the differences you noticed between, public and Waldorf school? What made Waldorf unique that, and, one of them, they mentioned like main lesson books. So you don't have textbooks or worksheets. You actually create and draw and write about the things that you're learning about in these books. And anybody that wants to know more, they can always look at Bloom taxonomy or the hierarchy of learning. And it just talks about how this is such a more effective method to evaluate what a kid is learning and for them to process it. And I think a couple other things my kids said was so much more hands-on with lots of projects, more time outside, more fun, lots of art and music. My oldest pointed out there are no screens anywhere in the classroom. So it's very much like, person to person, you're really learning all the time hands-on. And then another one that they really loved was that teachers stay with you from first grade to eighth grade,
Oh,
obviously
wow.
unless they move, but they stay with the kids. They really get to know the kids and trying to help them learn the best they learn. So like, oh, my kids, for example, my, she was in third and fourth grade there. Their teacher, that class loved like poetry and they could just memorize things so fast. And the teacher started presenting a lot of the information in that form, chants, poetry, songs. Whereas my oldest class, they were a very physical class. Like they loved movement. And so the teacher started doing a lot more kind of movement activities and outside activities. And so it allows the teacher to just sort of gauge the feel and the class, how they work together and learn. And so they really can gauge it to make it more fun, like you said, more engaging, more exciting.
And so you said you came across the Waldorf school system in South America. So this is something that's used worldwide.
Yeah. Waldorf education actually started in the early 1900s in Austria and Germany by a man named Rudolf Steiner. And he's like a philosopher, scientist, just did all this biodynamic agriculture and farming. And a gentleman there had asked him that ran it's called the Waldorf Astoria cigarette factory. That's why they call it Waldorf, because that was the first one. He asked Rudolf Steiner to come and create a school for the children of his factory employees. And so they teamed up and worked together, and they did it based on his previous philosophy and study of science and human nature, trying to create an education that just respected people more, provide the human right of education to all children, included more arts and refinement. And this was after World War II. So they really had a strong activist movement about trying to have the mindset of creating people that wanted peace and goodness in the world. And as different countries over in Europe recognized what was going on in the school and the results that were happening in these children and the kind of people that were coming, more and more people wanted it. So Steiner started lecturing all over Europe. Schools started beginning to form all over there. And then, it's just spread all over. Now there's 1,200 schools worldwide, 2,000 early education programs. It's a huge,
Wow.
I think they claim it's the largest free school movement in the world currently.
That's pretty impressive because prior to looking into stuff for this interview, it's something I hadn't heard of.
Same here. I had never heard of it until went to South America. And that's why I said it was by accident. We put our kids in the school that would let them go half day so I could homeschool the other half. And as I was researching and I read about Waldorf, I suddenly was like, oh my goodness, that's what that school's doing. Oh, that's what that school's doing. Oh my goodness, that's a Waldorf school.
Right.
Like, that's how I was like, I never had heard of it, even when my kids are even going to one,
Yeah. And so, what, in addition to the Waldorf stuff, what could you tell us about the Rooted Meadows School that's going to be opening up?
So our school is going to be a little bit different than a normal private Waldorf school. One of our goals is to be able to provide this amazing education at a much lower cost so more families can participate and benefit from them. Waldorf private schools typically range in the US to be like between the minimum I've seen is around 12 to 13,000, but typically it's more between 8 and 32,000 a year per student. And that is just wild, right? For many,
Mm-hmm.
many families that could benefit. So we've created this hybrid system where we can blend private system school with a homeschool co-op. In short, like the core classes would be taught by the certified Waldorf teachers. And those are the main lesson where they learn science, math, the language arts, um, social studies, and history, while the extracurricular classes are taught by parents and volunteers and like even like business people that are wanting to connect with a bigger audience can be like, hey, I want to teach them. I run a mountain biking class or company. I'll come teach a class for you for a month on mountain biking for the kids. And then they've connected with this audience, right? And the kids have learned and discovered new things. So that's sort of that hybrid thing. Another thing unique to our school is we have a shorter school day. So just going from 9 to 1:30, 4 days a week, and then just extending the school year. We felt so often families are just super rushed and just so packed, and kids are having to do all their other interests and extracurricular activities late into the night. And just the kind of toll that is taking on individuals, whether we want to fully admit or not. But I mean, there's more and more evidence coming out about how, at least in the United States, like just learning about our nervous system and needing to slow down the pace and have more of those things. And so this would allow more families to have more time together, kids to do those interests and hobbies earlier in the day instead of having to go in the evening. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the unique thing about our school. And then the last one that's I feel like is pretty unique is we're going to have a big heavy focus on this farm to table program where we're having biodynamic farming and regenerative farming, human ecology, and cooking, and just how important having this positive relationship with food is for the individual. And also food brings communities together, right?
Right.
And so from kindergarten to eighth grade, they're going to be learning and working in gardens on the farm, learning how using stuff from the garden and farms for cooking, for fiber arts, construction with natural materials, things like that. So that's sort of, a fun, unique thing.
Yeah, that's super cool, especially somewhere like Idaho, where a state where agriculture is so big and so prominent.
Yeah, people would, I feel like, naturally connect with it, right?
Right. And so, when will this school be opening up?
The school opens up August of 2026. We do our website is up and open for enrollment right now. Our website is rootedmeadowsschool.org, and you can also follow us on social media pages to learn more about Waldorf education, more about our school, and any kind of important announcements coming out.
And how many students will the school be taking? Like, what will the, I guess, student population be?
It is a micro school, so we'll probably start out. Um, we're hoping between 25 and 30 students. It will be combined classes, and then as we grow, we're hoping just to, every year or two add more students, hire more teachers, and at the same time just be growing our campus and our farm.
And I saw something on the website about this scavenger hunt that's going to be going on. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we're doing an awareness because, like you said, not many people have heard about Waldorf education, and so we feel to help people, one, just learn more about us coming and being here, but also just what is Waldorf education and like what makes it different? Why is it so great? The point is, we're doing this activity instead of Where's Waldo, it's Where's Waldorf. And we have in Rexburg and then also in Idaho Falls 10 different posters. So you can do it in either place, that talk about little clues to what is Waldorf education. So what are unique features about it? Like it'll talk more about main lesson. It'll talk about what is eurythmy? Why is movement so important? Why do they do handwork? Things like that. And the families can go take pictures with them. There's a QR code on it, so you can scan it and then submit your pictures with all 10 clues on this form, and then you get entered into a drawing for prize baskets with stuff that's been donated from businesses from all around Rexburg, Rigby, Idaho Falls. Treats, goodies, samples, gift cards, movie cards, bowling ball, or tickets, just all sorts of things that would be fun for families to be able to
Right.
use.
Yeah. And just last, I guess, is there anything else that you'd want the community to know about the Rooted Meadows School, or about what you have planned and what's going on?
Mainly just that we're really excited to be here in this area and just to be a good support. We're not just here. Yes, we want to provide an amazing education for kids, but also we're here to be a support to families in the community and to just bring people together, to be a positive place where families can really thrive, to just feel supported in raising children. It takes teamwork, it takes a village, and we want to be a part of that village for families. So
That's great. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all this with us.
yeah, thank you again for having us. We really enjoyed it and appreciate getting the word out.